Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was delight listening to our previous speaker. Here's, I take the privilege to go ahead and welcome our next speaker on board. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Mr. John Conway. Well, John is an executive superintendent of Sheikh Zayed Private Academies in Abu Dhabi. Having previously been a founding principal of SZPA Boys School for first 6 years, John has been a finalist for the last 2 years in the best principal category of UAE Schools Compared Awards. Can we have a huge round of applause for John?
Thank you. Thank you, Samira. Good morning, everybody. As Samira said, my name is John Conway, and I'm the Executive Superintendent of the Sheikh Zayed Private Academy for Boys in Abu Dhabi, and previously the founding principal of that school. This morning, I'm going to talk with you about the journey SZPAB took to becoming an Apple Distinguished School. I will be emphasising that success in implementing digital innovation in schools is more about leadership, specifically leadership in education, and less about technology. But first, a little about my school. SZPAB was set up in 2015. It's situated in the heart of Abu Dhabi Island. Currently, there are about 1,400 students attending the school, boys and girls up to grade 3, and boys only up to grade 12. 93% of our students are local Emirati students, with the remainder from other Arabic backgrounds. So it really isn't a typical international school in the traditional sense. SZPAB follows a traditional American curriculum, blended with MOE subjects, Arabic language, Islamic studies, and UAE social studies. The school's motto is honouring the past, educating for the future. Of all the school mottos I've come across, this is probably the most relevant I've ever encountered, especially the honouring the past component. And here's the reason why. As the population of the UAE exploded over the last 50 years, the percentage of Emiratis fell to below 20% of the total population. With this came a nervousness that young Emiratis would experience a dilution of their culture and heritage, a dilution of the understanding of their faith, and even a dilution of their command of their native Arabic tongue. Hence, the need for a school that will address these issues by honouring the past. But of course, the second half of the school motto, educating for the future, is where our digital journey really began. Back in 2015, when the school was opened, our miscellany of teachers had very patchy appreciation of technology. Some had never seen an interactive whiteboard, never mind use an iPad with children or an Apple TV in the classroom. We set about systematically appointing digital coaches and worked to audit staff IT skills, to establish training programs that were relevant for all of them. Actually, in 2015, one of the first steps on our journey was arguing with the local authority simply to gain approval to sell iPads to our students at cost price, which would ensure that students had the same devices, the same apps, and most importantly, from the parents' point of view, filters. By 2018, we had gained Apple Distinguished School status. But to achieve ADS, we established a really clear philosophy about how iPads should be used. Essentially, our philosophy was no gimmicks. In the beginning, we saw many teachers using Kahoot all of the time. And of course, that wasn't a great use of iPads in the long term. Our philosophy was that iPads should do one of or two or all of 4 things, just like any resource ever used in school. iPads needed to engage students in the first place, enthuse them about what they were learning, enhance the quality and depth of their learning, and embed their knowledge. We call these the 4 E's: engage, enthuse, enhance, embed. And if iPads weren't going to do this, we shouldn't be introducing them. We call the 4 E's a forever idea, because to enthuse, engage, enhance, embed is relevant to anything we do in education. A forever idea. But we realized to maintain a forever idea, we required what we called a forever plan. Our forever plan at SZPAB is digital agility. I will come back to the meaning of digital agility in a moment, but first, let's think about the advances in digital technology just for a moment. The advances in digital technology are continuous, vast, and unpredictable. Digital technology, as we know, is constantly moving and changing. It doesn't follow a timeline. It will probably go on like this indefinitely. So we must accept that change is here to stay. The 1, 3, 5-year plans we're used to writing are worthless when it comes to digital technology, because we can rip them up almost as soon as they've been written. At SZPAB, we decided we needed a forever plan, and that was digital agility. To achieve our forever plan of digital agility, we needed staff who would be universally well trained in using technology. They would be sufficiently skilled to assess the quality of technology and apps and devices. They would be prepared to research, accept how to use or even reject new technology. This is what we call digital agility, staff that were truly able to respond to whatever was coming at them. So our forever plan would mean we were always ready to accept, embrace, discuss, reject new technologies as and when they arose, rather than being wedded to a plan that would eventually go out of date. You will see to achieve digital agility, we needed a school culture that fostered the values shown here: ongoing development, ongoing training, creativity, confidence, ingenuity, and experimentation. So our plan to achieve digital agility was to continue training our staff. As of today, 100% of our teachers at SZPAB are Apple teachers, while we have 5 on-site Apple professional learning specialists. Now, to achieve this culture of digital agility, we also needed a leadership model that develops a culture that can be successful. We call this leadership model liberation leadership, a model that was set about creating structures that enabled a culture of free thinking and something I call directional creativity. Not random creativity, but creativity with specific outcomes in mind, but with the freedom to achieve those outcomes in different creative ways. Directional creativity. And that's what we do at SZPAB. We've created a culture that we believe will be successful in implementing our digital program and addressing the 4 E's that make children successful in their learning. But did it work? Does it work? It's really impossible to know if digital agility in itself has had an impact. But let's look at the outcomes for the students over the years since SZPAB opened. The graph I'm showing you shows MAP attainment for students for a grade 7 class that began with us in 2015. The grey line shows the US norms for reading. The blue line shows the average attainment of our students when they began at the school in 2015 through to 2020. You'll see in 2015, our students fell well below the norm line for MAP testing on the US curriculum. But by 2020, those students had closed that gap almost completely. Now we must bear in mind for reading that our children are all using English as an additional language. When you look at the same graph, but for math, you'll see that our students came from well below the norm line to achieving above the norm line in their outcomes. And in science, the same pattern was repeated. Was all of this success because of our advances with digital technology? It's impossible to make a judgment about that. But what we do know is that the use of digital technology, our iPad program, our digital agility methodology, certainly addressed those 4 E's: to infuse, engage, enhance, and embed learning. And so, without having very much time to discuss all of these issues this morning, and one could go into this far more deeply with more time, I want to leave you with some takeaways about the journey that SFB has been on. First of all, think about the 4 E's: engage, enthuse, enhance, embed. Always remember that change is here to stay, and consider the idea of a forever plan to meet the forever idea. Think about digital agility as a concept, maybe rather than having rather wooden 1, 3, 5-year plans. And consider that the leadership model you use in school allows the freedom to be creative, but in a way that it directs the whole organization towards the outcomes that you want for your establishment. So this has been brief and quick. I'm sure there's so much more we could discuss with this, but I want to say thank you for listening, and thank you and good luck with the rest of the program and the day and the various seminars that you'll be listening to. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Moving forward to our next speaker for the day. Well, I would like to go ahead and welcome Mr. Craig on board. Mr. Craig is an executive principal of elementary school at GEMS Dubai American Academy. The school has over 2,900 students, pre-K to grade 12, with close to 1,200 of those students in elementary. Dubai American Academy is rated as outstanding by Dubai's Knowledge and Human Development Authority for its exceptionally high quality of performance and practice. Recently, the elementary school has become a showcase school for innovation in learning through their Apple Distinguished School distinctions. Can we go ahead and welcome Mr. Craig on board? A very warm welcome, Mr. Craig.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. Yes. First off, I just want to say, John, I really enjoyed your presentation. It was great to hear the interconnections that we have in terms of how we've developed our program. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so yeah, my name's Craig Cantlie. I'm the executive principal for elementary here at GEMS Dubai American Academy, and I come to you from the campus in our Center of Excellence for AI. We are a very progressive school, an innovative school, and we're very proud of what we've been able to do. And today I want to share with you sort of why we're an Apple Distinguished School. And there's 3 things I want to touch on. 1 is vision, 2 is resources, and 3 is actions. And I think you're going to hear a lot of overlap with what John shared that they're doing at their school, which is great to hear. So just a little context, you had a little bit of it from Samira, but we have 110 nationalities. We have close to 1,200 students ages 4 to 11, and we have just over 2,900 students K to 12. We do an enriched American curriculum. We are rated outstanding by KHDA over the last 12 years. But more importantly for this, we are a 1-to-1 iPad program school. from KG1 to grade 5 over the last 4 years. And this year, our middle school became a one-to-one program as well. And we've been an Apple Distinguished School since 2019. And fingers crossed, we will be renewed this year and be an Apple Distinguished School going forward as well. So the vision. So we obviously as a school have a strong mission and vision, but what are the pillars that we look at when we do innovation and think about innovation? So the first one is really that authentic embedding of ed tech into transdisciplinary learning. We don't have technology exist within a vacuum. We strongly believe that it should be embedded into the learning every day that the kids are doing to make it more meaningful and authentic for them. We also really believe in responsible digital citizenship. So we use common sense media as the foundation for the growth of our kids to be respectful and responsible in their use of digital devices. I've always said that I think elementary is the time you give kids digital devices, because this is the time you can really shape their behaviors and their expectations around how to use the digital world more responsibly. I think it becomes a bit more challenging when you get into middle school and high school and you're trying to create that culture of digital citizenship. We also look to create creators, collaborators, and communicators. And we really believe in computational thinking, which I'll get to a little bit later. And finally, our students are such risk takers and so comfortable with the technology that our role, we feel, is to prepare our students for the technology that is coming. As John said in his, the technology is constantly changing. So we need our kids to be ready for that and comfortable to be able to access it when it comes. So how do we do it? So there's 4 things I want to talk about here. One is the one-to-one iPad. You can't do this without a one-to-one iPad. That has been a game changer in terms of everything that we've done. But along with the iPads, we also are very rich in terms of our resources for apps and subscriptions that we use with our teaching. On top of that, we also have a wealth of ed tech resources. So hummingbird kits, Lego We-Dos, drones, VR. We have a wealth of resources that our teachers are able to access with their kids. Probably more importantly than the resources, or maybe as importantly, because they go together, is the human resources. So I was quite envious of John with the 5 Apple professional learning people. We have one. We have what we call an innovation activator. And her job is full-time to work with teachers and kids on getting the resources into the classroom, to understanding how to embed technology effectively into the learning. We don't call her a facilitator or a coach because I feel like those are more passive. They can be considered more passive. An activator, her job is to be pushy, if there was a way to put it. Her job is to sit in grade level meetings, listen to what the learning program is going to look like, and then suggest ideas of how the ed tech could benefit and authentically kind of build on the learning that they're trying to do. So she's in classrooms all the time, in planning meetings, and really pushing. We also look through the lens of SAMR. So when we first got the iPads, we really would have been substitution a lot, but that was really important because I think that was the gateway to getting teachers and kids comfortable with the devices. Since then, we have really moved up the SAMR model, and we're very proud that we redefine a lot of learning, and I think that was especially true during COVID. Finally, the last piece is that creation, not consumption. That is the tagline we use all the time. If you're using it for consumption, it is not of value here at our school. And then we have 98% of our staff are Apple teachers, which is very exciting. I wish I could say it was 100, but we've hired a couple new staff this fall, so we are at 98. But this is a really important part of it. When we hire new people, we send them the courses, they do it before they come, and we have this beautiful wall of all our Apple teacher certificates. So they're very proud of what they've accomplished. They have the capacity to put the technology into the learning in the classroom. And then the kids also love seeing their teachers' names up there, recognizing that they also are learners, which I think is a very important message. So beyond the technology, it's really about the learning. So how does the technology help the learning? And we are a future fluent school. So the work of Lee Crockett is what our school is sort of founded on. He has 5 fluencies: information, creativity, collaboration, and media. But in elementary, we tend to use solution fluency as our inquiry model for our essential questions. And it's a very powerful way for students to understand that learning is a process and not a product. The benefit of solution fluency is it's also a design thinking model when you really look at it. And we're also able to use it for restorative justice. So we use it for a lot of our social emotional learning and our relationships with kids. So what does that look like in our classroom? So on the left-hand side here, you can see this is a KG2 student using Tinkercad and designing something that will eventually be on a 3D printer. One of the best examples I've seen at the school is our grade 2s do an inquiry into living things. And part of it is to plant a seed and grow a plant. So rather than go out to the garden center and buy the potted plants that they're going to put the seeds into, the teachers had the students design their potted plants on Tinkercad. They iterated them a number of times, and then we put a 3D printer into each classroom so the students were able to see their designs and their ideas actually printed in the classroom and then used as part of that 6-week unit of inquiry. On the right-hand side here, you can see this is our student innovation team, which is grade 1 to grade 5. In this session, they're actually learning about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain. And the conversations were thrilling. I'm going to say thrilling because the way that the kids interact and think about these things is quite amazing. This is a keynote of a student showing another student how to learn a concept. So we created our own little Khan Academy within the school. So I'm just going to play a quick video here.
Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to multiply a partial number with a whole number by using DeciDisc. The number that I'm going to multiply is 2 and 367 thousandths times 3. Let's first draw a place value chart. Now let's model 3 groups of 2 in the ones place.
So that's just a quick example, but this was then used with other kids and they created their own library of tutorials. So peers were teaching peers. On the left-hand side here, you see a student using Scratch Junior connected to their literacy learning and bringing that story to life. And on the right-hand side, it's a grade 3 class who are inquiring into landforms. And rather than see pictures on the TV screen of the different landforms, they were able to interact in a 3D environment or in a VR environment here. So very powerful stuff for the students to be able to have in their experience of learning. Podcasting became very popular at our school, and grade 4 teacher sort of kicked it all off. And then we began to have a number of different classes doing it. This was on Anchor, very much connected to communication of our literacy program. And what was really cool about this was the ability for our students to upload this to Spotify or whatever platform they were using and see the comments and the likes that they were able to get. So they were actually taking the feedback that they were getting and changing their podcasts each time to sort of match the audience. So a really great opportunity for them. Here you see coding. So on the left-hand side here, we have a new robot called Indy, and it's coded based on colors. We have drone coding, and then we have Everyone Can Code. And Everyone Can Code has been a really big part of our school. Again, I would say it's computational thinking. It's not the coding per se, but we've been able to have a coding curriculum, grades 1 to 5, but we do coding in KG as well. We have 1 coding lesson per week. We've integrated Apple's coding curriculum and we mapped it to the American curriculum. One of the things that we found when we were doing the 1 lesson per week is our teachers were quite overwhelmed and unsure how to teach it because there were different abilities across the school. So this year, our activator has gone in and created documents for everyone, teacher-friendly documents that they're able to use with their classes. We've also put all the grade levels coding at the exact same time so our innovation activator can be in the room or in the hallway at the same time. And it's had 2 impacts. One is the teachers feel very supported in terms of doing coding. 2, as I said, the activator's job is to be pushy, so they feel like they have to because she's there. So her presence encourages everyone to be involved. And then the other thing is we saw some kids were really elevated in terms of their coding. So we've created a small student-centered program where they're doing Swift playgrounds together. So the activator is in the hallway, but those kids are doing Swift all on their own. Communicating with the parent community is super important. So understanding what we're doing in the school in terms of coding. So these are sent home. School and learning looks very different for our parents. So the more we can keep them informed, the better it will be for everyone. And so we actually run parent mornings once a month. Our last one was creating the next generation of digital creators, which again showcased the learning we were doing with EdTech, but also talking about digital literacy or digital citizenship and how parents can support their kids at home. So what's been our impact? I think there's definitely a few. Our kids are risk takers in terms of their use of technology. They are very confident. Our kids are good digital citizens. They do see this as a tool and not an entertainment device or iPads. I would say that they also have done a lot of they've grown in their ability to collaborate in a very effective way. And finally, I think the biggest impact was our ability to pivot when COVID hit. We took about a week to get into full online learning with the technology. And then when we came back in 2020, we were able to do hybrid learning to a very high level. So our impact, I think, has been quite great. The other way we've measured impact is looking at action research. So we've done a number of action research projects. The one on the left is one of our inclusion specialists looking at behavior. On the right, looking at mathematical fluency. We use numbers, we use Keynote, we use Pages, we use iMovie clips, all of these different products that bring the action research to life. We had a GoPro used last year as we were trying to figure out the engagement of grade 1 students. And then we did a leadership one last year looking at MAP and how we could positively impact the attitudes towards taking the assessments and if that would have an impact on our results. So what's our recent work? Our recent work has been looking at a continuum. We wanted to solidify and make the work that we've been doing sustainable. So we've created a number of different continuums, which I'll show you here. What you will notice is we started with these as grade levels, and we found that we started thinking that that doesn't make sense. Our kids are at all different levels, and to compartmentalize them into a grade was not going to be aligned to the philosophy that we have as a school. So you can see here, a grade 2 student could be at level 4. A grade 5 student could be at level 1. It just depends where they are in the continuum, but allows us to measure that. So we have it for coding, we have it for Keynote, we have it for iMovie and clips, and we have it for photography with an iPad, and we will continue to iterate these as time goes on. One of the things we're really proud of was we've created a student dashboard of our standardized assessments. And what was happening is we were putting all the data into a numbers document, and it really just got lost as one big document dump. So now everybody puts it into a spreadsheet, and we populate this document, so they have a very nice visual data representation of each child in their class. And this was designed with Pages. So what are our next steps? We're going to continue to amplify student voice through our student innovation team and through exploration days when we're allowed to have parents back on campus. We're going to create sustainability, as I said, with the continuum. We continue to document everything that we do. We're going to continue to scaffold K-12. So our next step with that is really helping the build capacity in our middle school. And then finally, we're going to continue to stay cutting edge in terms of our technology. And the center I'm in right now is a place where our students can come and look at AI and look at robots. And we have a number of different tools that we can expose our kids to. So at DAA, we continue to create collaborators, creators, and communicators. We're very proud of our problem solvers and our critical thinkers, and we're very proud of our program in general. So thank you very much for your time. I very much appreciate being part of this event. If you have any questions, you can see we've listed our Twitter handles on here. I would highly suggest following at DAA Elementary. Our students our teachers do a fantastic job of showcasing the learning that they're doing in the classroom.
Such an enlightening session. We all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being with us today.